Hey, what's up, everybody? So, virtual day today. So, we're going to need to think about our projects, try and get back on track with these things. So, I'd hope today that we would look at we were going to be looking at the landscapes you've done. We'll look at those on Wednesday, okay? And I was going to get you started on the next project, the big project we're going to be working on. Obviously, without being there, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for us. But I am going to go ahead and do a couple of things here in my studio. Trust me, it looks very white behind me because it's an area there's nothing on the walls, but it is a mess in here, as it usually is. But so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the next project, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what I'm thinking I want you to do. Mainly, we're going to look at doing some sketches, some preparatory sketches, so we can kind of finish off the what we're going to be doing on our project on Wednesday. Okay, so we'll get started with that. So the project, is on geometric abstraction. Um, Basically, we're going to be making an abstract composition using shapes, and then we're going to use the watercolor to start to transform the space, to make things move forward and things move backwards. Okay, using the colors, using the different kinds of layers of paint that we have around us, playing with the edges, wet on wet edges, dry brushed edges, so things that we can start to, muddy the waters in terms of what is the edge of a shape. Muddy the waters in terms of where does space begin and where does the shape begin. We want to try to play around with ambiguity in this space, and I'm going to show you a little bit about starting off the sketching process for that. It'll make a lot more sense once we look at a few things, so keep that in mind. I'm going to show you a couple of quick tutorials here on how to start thinking about making a sketch for these projects. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you a little bit about kind of what I'm thinking here in terms of what we're doing. This is a sketchbook that I've been kind of started recently. I actually started a little while ago, but the information here deals a little bit about this idea of what we're doing with shape to challenge edges. So as you can see here, this is a pen drawing I made just with swirly shapes. Here we have more of a geometric, which I think lends itself a little bit better for our project here. Though you can definitely incorporate curvilinear and more kind of biomorphic shapes into your compositions. Here's another one where kind of you see these kind of abstract, much more naturalistic looking splotches with the squares in this page here. Same here, we see a little bit about how this idea kind of starts. But what I want to talk to you about is how to maybe think about starting your projects here. So basically just a piece of paper. This is just a drawing sketch paper with a grid on it, which I kind of like having grids on there because I'm doing a lot of grids with my work. I've recently, just a pencil. I've been really personally been into mechanical pencils of late. But what you want to do is you want to set yourself up with a space to work in. I would definitely encourage you to do as I did in the other ones and give yourself a rough estimate of what your page is going to look like. Okay, so from there we can start to think. You can start to think about to yourself. I'm going to make several sketches of this stuff. So here I'm going to make just 2 quick sketches of this project. Okay, thinking about shape and how it goes into the space here. So we can start to think about. I want to do just geometric kind of shapes to start off with. Notice here, I'm letting myself go off the edge because I want this idea of what is edge to incorporate the entire surface of the painting here. So I'm just starting off with some triangles. I'm just playing around here. Playing around with hitting this edge, going off the edge, being completely inside. Now I want to go ahead and think about other shapes that might exist. What this does here, of course, this shape, as it overlaps with this shape, makes me a brand new shape. And now I've started to think here very much about how these objects exist on the space here. The shapes don't have to be all perfect. Play around with different shapes. It's kind of jelly beans here. I'm gonna wonder here, I'm gonna play around with, what if all these shapes are kind of the same shape? How does that affect the object I'm making, the composition I'm making? So now we've got the spaces here, right? We have front and back, perhaps. How can we then shift that when we get playing with paint? The reason I draw out the space is because it makes it easier to see where these things overlap. Trust me, it just does. So please make your squares or your rectangles and draw within those. This is something I don't think may be as successful, although you may want to try it, is keeping everything within the space. Because we want to try to think about how do we challenge the notion of front and back. So when we do something like this, even though this is kind of a nice little pattern here, we have a definite sense of this is front and this is back. Whereas something over here, I can, depending on how I color in an area, that bold black line there, and a lighter gray here, all of a sudden, this shape here, which is ostensibly a background shape, moves forward. So, as you can see there, this can be very simple, can be done very easily, all right? I want you to try to make some sketches for me by Wednesday. I think you can do 10 of these, 10 small sketches. They don't have to be big. These are literally this big, right? They don't have to be big at all. Just make some sketches to start thinking about how you want to incorporate shapes. What we'll do on Wednesday then, we'll start talking about them, see what you've got, make adjustments, make changes, and then start putting that onto our large pieces of paper. And then we'll start talking about how do we paint these. Okay, so if you have any questions on this, please hit me up. If you like what you've seen, hit that subscribe button. No, I'm kidding, I don't have any subscribe buttons here. But just go ahead and have some fun, make some nice sketches, and we'll bring them to class on Wednesday. Let me know if you have any questions.